Welcome to Slaying Excel Dragons video number 36. Hey, these are the videos that accompany the book. We're still in chapter 5. Hey, we're going to talk about custom number formatting and the text function. Now, there are no pages in the book. If you haven't noticed already in this video series, most of what I'm doing in this video series comes from the book, but I'm always adding a few extra things that are not in the book. And this topic is not in the book. We're going to talk about custom number format. A bunch of different amazing things we can do. We're going to talk about date, time, what to do when you have time greater than 24 hours, percents, fractions, words with numbers, how to do a blank. We'll talk about the 4 sections of custom number formatting, talk about the text function, and we'll see a bunch of awesome formulas that will involve custom number format, the text function, including some text formulas and some array formulas. Our Excel workbook is the excelisfun Start. You can go ahead and download this video from the link below the plain video or from the DVD. Now, there's some notes over here for custom formatting notes. So in lieu of the textbook, the notes are in this workbook. And then here's our example. Now, we've already talked about custom number formatting a bunch. We know that it is a facade. We've talked about number formatting, not custom number formatting. But number formatting is a facade. It sits on top. Underneath in the cell can be something quite different. Now, I started, we're going to look at the date number format. And there's a number. Let's just format this. Control 1. And I'm going to go to date. You can see that when we apply a date number format on top of a integer, we get a date. Now watch this. Something very curious happens. And we saw this before. That number I can't see anymore. That's a format on top of the number. And look at that. We can't see it up in the formula bar either. Now there is a keyboard shortcut that applies the general number format. I'm going to do that right now. Ctrl Shift tilde. So you can see we did it backwards. We entered the number and applied the number formatting. You never do it that way. Normally you just go 1/1/209. And there we go. But remember, underneath is that number. Now I got to show you some great tricks for custom number format. Control 1. You can, in essence, if you don't go read all these notes down here, you can teach yourself about different number formats by selecting whichever one you want. As soon as you select a built-in one, then click on Custom, and it will show you what it actually did there. Now, the great thing about dates is it's just M for month, D for day, and Y for year. Now, if I wanted to show this the entire month, I'd go M. M shows 2. Another M has the abbreviation, and finally 4M shows you the whole month. So then I could do something like then space day, comma, space YYY. Now you can do anything, you could put DDDD here, however you want it. All right, but just remember MDY. That's the best one to start with when you're learning custom number formatting because it's so easy to remember. Click OK. All right, now time. If I have the number 0.3333, 8 divided by 24, that means 8 hours in a 24-hour day, is the fraction 1/3 or the decimal 0.333333. If we format this as time, it'll show up as 8 a.m. So Control 1, time. And there it is, 8 a.m. Now I'm going to Control Shift tilde and delete. And then I'm going to type 8:00. That's the convention for time. And then a space, 8 a.m. All right, now I'd like to show this slightly different. Control 1. And oh, look, it's already got a custom number format there. If I go up to time, right, I didn't know I'd click on one of these. Say I liked this one here. I'd click there, and then I'd click down here, and I'd go, oh, now that's a bunch of extra stuff. And there's some notes over here about all this extra stuff. But you don't need all this extra stuff here. All we really need to do is something like HH. Oh, and you can see when I type one H, it's an 8, and a second H, it shows will always force 2 positions to be shown. So H is for hour, and then colon MM, that's for minutes, and then colon SS, that's for seconds. Oh, so time is kind of like date. It's easy to remember how to do. If you enter it this way, it enters military time. But if you want AM or PM, you type a space and then AM/PM. This is a custom number format. In essence, this is kind of a code behind the scene that says whenever it gets into the PM, put a PM. Whenever it gets in the AM, put an AM. I'm going to click OK. Now, sometimes you want to show time that is greater than 24 hours. Now, back in our video when we talked about time number format, we know that time is always a number between 0 and 1, right? And we had some great examples of all sorts of numbers between 0 and 1. We saw what times show up in the cell. But if you have more than 1, let's just apply a time format and see what happens. Well, notice first off, 1 is 24 hours and 0.5 is noon, so 12 p.m. If you apply a normal time format is programmed to ignore the integer part. It only takes the decimal. So if you have this right here, not what we want. So now we have to come down here and learn a custom number format. Actually, there's some built-in ones down here. You can see the 30 right there, the 37. So we could teach ourselves. Let's go ahead and go like that. Oh, 36 hours. That's what we want. Let's click there on that one and then click on custom. Oh, there it is. Square brackets say, hey, please show more than 24 hours. So if you have 36, it'll show 36. You could do the same thing for minutes too and seconds. Sometimes people do that when they're adding up minutes greater than 60. All right, I'm going to click. I'm not going to click OK. I'm just going to type a square bracket H square bracket colon MM because that's what I want to see. Click OK. And sure enough, there we have it. Now, percent control 1. We have learned how to do this, and then we change this here. But you can come down to custom and just see simply it's a 0.00 and a percent. If I add more zeros here, it increases it. This one's important because when we learn how to use the text function, we are going to actually have to know how to type custom number format. And so this is a common one to do percent. It's kind of easy like dates and time because we just know, hey, 0 point and then however many decimals we want to show, type those zeros and then a percentage symbol. So I'm going to put a bunch of extra zeros here. All right, the next one is fraction. Now, 0.2 it could be formatted as 20%. It could also be 20 divided by 100. If you reduce that fraction down, it would be 1/5. And so I'd like to show this as a fraction, right? Now, what happens? People do this all the time. They type 1/5, and what they're expecting is for the number 1/5. Well, if you enter that, that is, remember, a slash goes with date number format. So as soon as you type a slash, you're telling Excel, hey, please format this as date. Oh, that's not what I want. So now I'm going to type 0.2. And now, because I have that date format, I'm going to have to get rid of it with Ctrl Shift tilde. Now, let's go ahead and see how to do fraction. Control 1. There's actually a fraction category, and you can select what you want here. There's single digit in the numerator and denominator, double digits, triple digits, and there's actually some special ones, eighths, sixteenths. I'm going to select this first one. Oh, you can see the sample. Notice it's pushing it over. It's because it's programmed to have 3 digits there. I'm going to select this one right here. And then there's 1/5, even though 0.02 is in the cell. Control 1, let's go down and look at custom. And there's a couple things we want to note here. For a single digit, use a question mark. So question mark slash question mark just is going to tell it just show 1 digit. That pound sign right there says show a mixed number. Now I'm going to get rid of this and hit enter. That'll just show with no extra spaces 1/5. Now what if I typed 2.2? OK, so it's showing me 11/5. And up here I can see the 2.2. But what if I wanted a 2 and then a 1/5? Control 1. The symbol we use, or the code, is pound sign. So I'm going to do pound sign space. And immediately, you could see right there, it shows 2 1/5. All right, a totally awesome trick here is we could put words in number format, but they're not going to actually be in the cell. Now, sometimes people have formula inputs like this is the price per unit. All right, so I'm going to Control 1. Notice, remember, there's a 25 there. I'm going to come down here and maybe apply currency. Click OK. But what I would really like is I want to keep that 25 in the cell, but have the number format show $25 per unit. The per unit or words, they'll not be in this cell. They'll just show up as custom number formatting. Control 1. Let's go look at currency. Click down here. Pretty straightforward. Dollar sign, that is a floating dollar sign. This pound, comma, pound, pound says, hey, if you have, we're going to put a comma every 3 digits, and then 0.00. So that's a great format to know. Now I'm going to put in quotes. And I'm going to start with a quote right after the 0, and then a space. And I'm going to type per unit. It doesn't matter what you type between these quotes. Anything you want. It's going to show up as a custom number format, not actually in the cell. Look at that. And there's the number in the cell. What's the beauty of this? You can use this as a formula input. But on the surface, it's formatted so we understand exactly what it is. Let's look at the 4 sections. There's semicolons, 1, 2, 3, and then a 4th section. Now let's just go ahead, and I'm going to use the 0.00. That's kind of like what we saw with currency. Control 1. Go down to custom, and I'm just going to type it right off the bat. Let's just watch as the sample. Notice we have a word in the cell, 0.00. And then I'm going to type a semicolon. The first part of the semicolon is what positive numbers should look like. After the first semicolon, which is now the 2nd section, is how zeros should look. So I'm going to put minus 0.00. And we'll test this. And then we type a 2nd semicolon to get to the 3rd section. And this is how zeros should look. That's why in accounting, you see a dash like that. Now I'm going to come back and change that in a section, but but I just want to show you that that's possible. So now zeros will not show up as a 0. They'll show up as a dash. And finally, 3rd semicolon and the 4th section. The 4th section is how you want text to show up. I'm going to put an @ symbol. The @ symbol means, hey, go ahead and if someone puts text in the cell, show it. All right, so positive, negative, 0, and text. All right, so text is allowed. Now I'm going to type a 0. Notice a 0. It's a dash. Minus 5. 5. So we've tried all 3 sections. Now I'm going to go back and change this. Control 1. I'm going to change the 0 to 0. And I'm going to leave the 4th section blank. Notice what the sample is. If you put a semicolon and nothing, it means show nothing. So now words are not allowed to show up in the cell. You can still type words in. And look at that. Nothing in the cell, but up here. Now, there's another. We could take this one step further, right? We could just put 3 semicolons. Control 1. Custom. Semicolon, semicolon, semicolon. And that's it. 1, 2, 3. That is the custom number format for nothing. No matter what you type in the cell, it is going to be, right, 2. Nothing. Minus 2. Nothing. 0. Nothing. Rad. Nothing. All right, and finally, it's very important to know the keyboard shortcut for Ctrl Shift tilde. When we did our date number and time number formatting and time and date math back a few videos back, we knew that we always got in trouble with the number formatting when we did those types of formulas. So Ctrl Shift tilde wipes away all the formatting. So if I have some formatting, let's say it's date. And I'm like, I didn't want date number formatting. You just Ctrl Shift tilde and boom. Now let's see some great examples of custom number formatting in formulas. Now here's our situation. We have a formula input, units, and we need to calculate sales. Oh, and each one of these units costs 25 bucks. But I want to add a custom number format to show $25 per unit. Control 1. I'm going to go straight down to custom. Highlight the general, and I'm going to type $0.00. Sort of like currency, but we don't have the pound signs. Now, I'm not going to add semicolon to get to negative or semicolon to get to 0 or text. I'm going to leave it off. And when you do that, this number format will apply to all of them. So negatives and 0 will show up like this also. I'm going to now type a double quote because I want to put some text into the custom number format, space, per unit. And then enter, Control Enter. Right? So if I type a 0, 0. If I type a negative 25, no problem. It adopted that first section positive, the first section where we had the positive custom number format. It uses that for all of the numbers. All right, now let's see how to do a formula. Equals, hey, one cell to my left times A12, and I'm going to hit the F4 key once and twice to lock the row reference as I copy it down. Control Enter. Double click and send it down. Now I'm going to come up here and change it to 25, positive 25, and boom. Absolutely cool. Custom number format. Now let's see some formulas to create labels. And then we're going to see a cool array formula using the text function. And actually, we've already seen back in the SUMPRODUCT video, we saw the text function in array formulas. But here, we're going to create labels. Now, imagine you have criteria. You need to count everything before 2 p.m. Well, we could add a label, right? Create a label for our input. Meaning, this would be the criteria, and we'd use that in formula, but I want a label next to it. So since this is the text formula, I'm going to type an equal sign and double quotes. And I'm going to type all times before, and then a space. Now, what did we say before about text in formulas? If you want to spell check, you got to do it in edit mode. So I'm going to hit F7. Sure enough, before. Click OK. All times before, ampersand. Now, right now, I could just click here. As we have seen so many times before in this book, formulas don't look at number formatting. They look at the underlying number. So what are we going to do? The solution is to use the text function. Text function is great. Its only purpose is to take a value and convert it to some text according to a custom number format. So comma in our custom number format will be, say, hour, colon, space AM/PM, end double quotes, close parentheses. So, and totally beautiful. Now we can use this in whatever formula, whatever criteria we want. If I change it to 5 p.m., 5:00 p.m., no problem. That updates perfectly. Now, what about a date? So the criteria, I'm going to put in double quotes, the criteria to match is, I better hit F7. I can't tell. No, that looks like it's spelled all right. So we have the first part of our formula. We use the ampersand, which is the join symbol, and then text. Now, how come that didn't work? I forgot the equal sign. All right. Let's see if this, OK, so now it recognizes it text. Here's the value. And I'm going to show it as, in double quotes, M/D/, and I'm going to put Y. Just a single Y will give me 2 characters for the year. Anytime you create a formula that has an error, Excel is going to try and be polite and guess. I always click OK. I forgot a comma. let's try to enter that again. Usually you click OK, and it will, after you click OK, it'll give you a suggestion. I always completely cancel out of it because, especially when you get to complicated formulas, it cannot guess right. So don't accept the default, which sometimes happens here. It doesn't know what to do there, so it didn't give us one. All right, so I forgot a comma and enter. So now if I change this to, I'm going to use the keyboard shortcut for today's date, Control semicolon. And so there it is. Automatically updates. We've created a label. We're going to use this cell in for formula inputs, but this is our label. Text function. Now I want you to notice something here. This happened in 2010. I can't see my words there, but if I scroll up off the screen and then back, it comes back in. I don't know what's going on there. That's a bug in 2010. All right, so here we want to say in equal sign in double quotes, your rate is n double quote. Notice I'm putting a space because I know I want a space between this and whatever I join this to. Ampersand, Shift 7, text, comma, there's the value. And then in double quotes, 0.00, and then a percent symbol. Now I messed that up in double quote because that should be a period. All right, I got my fingers crossed. Your rate is 25.5%. So I'm going to change this down to 22. All right, now we want to see how to use the text function in a logical formula. These were up here. These were text formulas. This is going to be a logical formula. All I want to do before we do our array formula down here is see if there is a way to get a true. Now, what's happening here is we have two criteria. And sometimes, instead of matching a serial number date to another serial number date, for whatever reason, your criteria is given as a month and a year. Now, under this, that's just text. We can see it's aligned to the left. That's our visual cue. Over here, this is a number. But this right here, if I Control Shift tilde to wipe away the general formatting, remember dates have serial numbers. That's the number of days since December 31st, 1899. How in the world are we going to match these two things against this? And ask the question, I'm going to Control Z, is this date here December 2009? No problem. Our text function can come to the rescue. Let's just see if we can invent in this cell a way to extract from this the words December 2009. No problem. The text function comes to our rescue. Here's the serial number. Remember, text always just has some number under there, comma. And what is our criteria? 1, 2, 3, that's the abbreviation for month, and 1, 2, 3, 4, year. So I'm just going to put in double quotes. M, 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 and then Y, Y, Y. Now, technically, you only need 3 Y's to get 4 digits, but I always put 4 just because it's easier to remember that way. End double quote and close parentheses. Totally cool. And now what do we do to get a true or false? We can either before or after say, is that equal to this? And ampersand, Shift 7, this. Now notice in edit mode, F9, that's text. Anytime you use the ampersand like this, you will create a text string. And then, of course, text specialty is to create text. So if I hit F9, no problem. That is so cool. Control Enter. So true. If I were to change this to JAN, I would get a false. So that is a method, Control Z, of when, for whatever reason, you have to have criteria set up like this. Just a beautiful way to check text, a number, combine together, and check or match it against a serial number. So here's our goal here. We're given this criteria. We need to count how many dates in this list are January 2009. Now, we go back to last video. We know that we can do array formulas for this. Now, normally you would think you would use something like COUNTIF, and then COUNTIF the range, and then comma, you'd say this and this. Well, it can't possibly do that because it's underneath these are numbers, and this is when we join these together, that's text. Well, okay, no problem. What if we went like this? Oh, yeah, we could do the text function on an entire range, just like we saw in last video and then way back in the SUMPRODUCT video. No problem. Text. There's the value, all of them, comma, and then in double quotes, we have MMM, Y. Again, actually, let me show you. Once 3 will always give, if you put 3 Y's, it'll always give you 4. All right, you ready? Now, I'm just going to tell you that this formula will not work. And the error message is not particularly helpful. And if you go up to COUNTIF help, it doesn't help you either. The fact is, and you just have to make a note of this, that argument right there says what? Does it say array? No. Does it say range? It says range. It cannot accept arrays. And anytime you do this, this is the text function. That's a value. It's expecting one number. As soon as we put a bunch in them, we have converted this into the realm of array formulas. And when this gets evaluated, remember, this is inside a formula. When I hit F9, that is an array created inside the formula. Some people say it's like an array in memory, but it's inside the formula. Control Z. And because that argument says range, and again, the help doesn't say anything about this. I posted to a forum once to finally ask some really smart Excelers, and they said, yeah, this argument's never going to accept an array ever. It's just programmed for range. So no problem. We can't use COUNTIF. If we could, that would be the perfect formula, but no problem. SUMPRODUCT comes to our rescue. There is no other good way. There's no built-in function that will do this. All right, so I'm going to do SUMPRODUCT, and I'm going to have to change that to an equal sign. So now what I'm saying is that whole array created inside the formula, are any of the things in there equal to this? Now, what does this do? Let's just highlight this and hit F9. It gives us trues and falses. We already saw back in the last video and way back in SUMPRODUCT can't count trues and falses, so we have to convert them to ones and zeros. I'm going to Control Z. Not only that, but there is an equal sign there, and we have to force that operation to happen before the converting to ones and zeros. So I'm going to have to put all of this inside of double quotes. And then the fastest way calculating method for converting trues and falses to ones and zeros is double negative. Control Enter. And so there are 3. If I change this one to 12, oh, it's 1 up here. So if I change this to 1, now I get a count of 4. All right, custom number formatting, oh so important. You know, when you're learning Excel, you're like, oh yeah, number formatting is hard enough to figure out. Remember that it's a facade. And then once you get that down, you're like, oh no, now I got to know all this custom number formatting. Oh, but no problem, because look at all the amazing things you can do if you know custom number formatting. Oh, all right, now we're done with Chapter 5, Formulas and Functions. Here's the homework workbook, Slaying the Excel Dragons homework, chapters 1 to 9. I'm on the sheet Chapter 5, pages 308 to 340, and here it is. 60 to 68 worksheets. These are homework problems. There's the number 60. There's the answer. There's number 61. There's the answer. There's a bunch, just like the last set of homework problems, a bunch of really challenging problems here. So you want to try your hardest to try and figure it out. And if you can't, there's always the answer. So you try, create your formulas, and then look over there. All right, next chapter is all about Chapter 6, data analysis and the amazing features inside of Excel. See you next video.